Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free at whyagain.org. If you go to that page and click on the red and white bullseye, apparently in the new format, you might have to scroll down a bit, but on the upper left-hand corner there are the words Start Here. Click on that. It'll take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? You can also download that chapter of that book contains a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, and I've been using that tool to great effect for pushing 17 years now to improve my quality of my life and relationships, and using it to turn any negative emotional experience into part of the infallible guidance system that we've all been gifted. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click it, download it, print it off, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through that worksheet process. Another one of those occurred yesterday. So if you go to the archive that's also available on whyagain.org and look up the May 31st, 2021 episode, there's the second half of that show is stepping someone through a worksheet process. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness and get access to a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet, an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And we hope you do that soon and often because it raises questions for people, provides wonderful benefits in their life, and maybe they'll want to call and give us a testimonial. And if you're in that position and you want to call, the call-in number is 563-999-3581. And if you call that number and press 1, it will let us know you want to talk. Today is the 152nd day of the year, and the Course in Miracles lesson from the workbook for today is, The Power of Decision is My Own. The commentary reads, No one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision. No one suffers pain except his choice elects this state for him. No one can grieve, nor fear, nor think him sick unless these are the outcomes that he wants. And no one dies without his own consent. Nothing occurs but represents your wish, and nothing is omitted that you choose. Here is your world, complete in all details. Here it is, whole reality for you. And it is only here salvation is. You may believe that this position is extreme and too inclusive to be true. Yet, can truth have exceptions? If you have the gift of everything, can loss be real? Can pain be part of peace or grief or of joy? Can fear and sickness enter in a mind where love and perfect holiness abide? Truth must be all-inclusive. If it be the truth at all, accept no opposites and no exceptions, for to do so is to contradict the truth entirely. Salvation is the recognition that the truth is true and nothing else is true. This you've heard before, but may not yet accept both parts of it. Without the first, the second has no meaning, but without the second is the first no longer true. Truth cannot have an opposite. This cannot be too often said and thought about. For if what is not true is true as well as what is true, then part of truth is false, and truth has therefore lost its meaning. Nothing but the truth is true, and what is false is false. This is the simplest of distinctions, yet the most obscure, but not because it is a difficult distinction to perceive. It is concealed behind a vast array of choices that do not appear to be entirely your own. And thus, the truth appears to have some aspects that belie consistency, but do not seem to be but contradictions introduced by you. As God created you, you must remain unchangeable, with transitory states, by definition, becoming false. And that includes all shifts in feeling, alterations in conditions of the body and the mind, in all awareness and in all response. This is the all-inclusiveness which sets the truth apart from falsehood, and the false kept separate from the truth as what it is. Is it not strange that you believe to think you made the world you see as arrogance? The Creator made it not. Of this you can be sure. What can the Creator know of the ephemeral, the sinful and the guilty, the afraid and the suffering and the lonely, and the mind that lives within a body that must die? You but accuse the Creator of insanity to think He made a world where such things seem to have reality. The Creator is not insane, yet only madness makes a world like this. To think that the Creator made chaos contradicts His will, invented opposites to truth, and suffers death to triumph over life. And all of this is arrogance. Humility would see at once these things are not of the Creator, and you can see what God created not. And can you see what God created not? To think you can is merely to believe you can perceive what God willed not to be, and what could be more arrogant than this? Let us today be truly humble and accept what we have made as what is. The power of decision is our own. Decide but to accept your rightful place as co-creator of the universe, and all you think you made will disappear. What arises to awareness then will be all that there ever was, eternally as it is now. And it will take the place of the self-deceptions made but to usurp the altar to the Creator and the Creator's offspring. Today we practice true humility by abandoning the false pretense by which the ego seeks to prove it arrogant. Only the ego can be arrogant. But truth is humble in acknowledging its mightiness, its changelessness, and its eternal wholeness is all-encompassing, God's perfect gift to His beloved offspring. We lay aside the arrogance which says that we are sinners, guilty and afraid, ashamed of what we are, and we lift our hearts in true humility to ask the Creator, who has created us immaculate, like unto itself, in power and in love. The power of a decision is our own, and we accept of the Creator that which we are and humbly recognize the offspring of creation. To recognize creation's offspring implies as well that all self-concepts have been laid aside and recognized as false. Their arrogance has been perceived, and in humility the radiance of the offspring's of the Creator's offspring in its gentleness, perfection, sinlessness, and its Father's love, His right to heaven and release from hell, these are all joyously accepted as our own. Now do we join in glad acknowledgement that lies are false and only the truth is true. We think of truth alone as we arise and spend 5 minutes practicing its ways, encouraging our frightened minds with this. The power of decision is my own. This day, I will accept myself as what my Creator's will created me to be. Then will we wait in silence, giving up all self-deceptions, as we humbly ask ourselves that creation reveal itself to us. And He who never left will come again to our awareness, grateful to restore His home to creation as it was meant to be. Impatient, we wait for Him throughout the day. And in patience, we hourly invite Him with the words with which the day began, concluding it with the same invitation to yourself, your higher self. The Creator's voice will answer, for He speaks for you and for your Father. He will substitute the peace of creation and love for all your frantic thoughts, the truth of creation and love for self-deceptions, and the truth of creation and love for your sons, your offspring, for your illusions of yourself. A little long, but definitely on point. Our negative experiences, our pain, our fear, our sadness, our view of ourselves as less than perfection of creation is a decision. Pam Grout's The Course in Miracles Experiment, Lesson 152, is titled All In. She quotes Will Smith, who said, "The second I decide something is done, it's done. I just have to wait for y'all to see it." Pam writes, in Lesson 152, "The power of decision is my own. This reassures me that I create my own reality. It asks me to accept no opposite and no exception, for to do so is to contradict the truth entirely. This says my creative power remains unchangeable, that all transitory states are by definition false. It says the minute I make any intention, it's real, it is viable, it is a viable creation. But until I, quote, make no exceptions, accept no opposites, close quotes, my intention stays on an invisible vibrational plane. Until I catch up vibrationally, I am unable to see and enjoy my fabulous creations. I'm a master at the first part of the equation, making intentions. But the second part, where I get out of my own way and allow love and joy and the new Tesla into my sphere of awareness, this presents a thornier dilemma. For right now, I forget my intentions. I focus instead on every brilliant, juicy, delicious thought I can. Thoughts that remotely resemble my intention and everything that doesn't. When joy is the dominant emotion, I'm able to pull dreams out of thin air like magicians pull rabbits out of hats." So there we have it. Pam Grout's work for today, The Course in Miracles, lesson for today. And we have 45 minutes left. We are on air for another hour and 44 minutes if my creating this episode worked accurately. I was a little bit behind the gun to begin the show because I had to create the show. So our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and we have plenty of time for questions, comments, answers, soliloquies. How can we support you today? What was your weekend like, or what is, as we had a caller yesterday who decided to do a worksheet on air. What's a worksheet you'd like to help either framing or doing? What is an exciting chapter or event in your life that you would like to discuss? I think I was mentioning yesterday that I had just been through the Thich Nhat Hanh book. It's a small book, and it is a book that has the lots of good stuff in it about working with your inner child, and the book is called Reconciliation. And lots of overlap between what Krishnamurti has observed for many, many years, what Thich Nhat Hanh observes, what the Course in Miracles experiment or lesson and workbook lessons observe. There's far more good going on in any moment than that which is disruptive or painful. And if we choose and we focus our creative energy, our mind energy, on the good, we create a better, more loving experience of our lives. And when we're stuck creating that which is unpleasant or fear-producing or anger-producing or focused on a belief in lack, then we create that experience in our lives. And it is ever thus. This is, one of the core teachings that comes of the first principle in the way of mastery. In the 5th page of that book says, here's an axiom. We want you to become aware of this axiom. There are a number of axioms of truth. But the first one is, you experience only what you have chosen. This is, nothing comes to you. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. You experience only the effects of your own choice. And I hasten to talk to people about this and say, that doesn't mean that I chose the hurricane that blew into town. It does mean that I choose the interpretation of and the emotions that I generate around whatever happened when the hurricane came through town. And if I choose to believe that my life is ruined and life is bad and God hates me, then I create one set of experiences. If I've survived the hurricane and I choose to be grateful for having survived and whatever I have in terms of my physical health, even if all my possessions are wiped out, I create a different experience. I have the very solid memory of watching the people who were let back into the Washington, Illinois area after the hurricane 9 or 10 years ago, or the tornado that came through there 9 or 10 years ago, wiped out a whole slew of houses in this neighborhood. And then because of all of the gas lines and electrical lines, they had to evacuate everybody. And then they had the time where they were letting the residents back in for the first time to look at, assess their damage and see their houses or what was left of them. And the news crew was there, a woman reporter with a cameraman, and they raced up to this family that was standing by the side of the street right in front of a driveway, at the end of which was a big hole in the ground piled with rubble that used to be their house. And the newswoman said to them, "Oh my goodness, tell us about this." And the husband and wife and the kids were there, and the husband and wife both just said, "We are just so grateful, we're so lucky, everybody's safe." And the news person said, "But what about all the stuff you lost?" And they said, "Well, that's just stuff. It can be replaced, but we're all healthy and we're just grateful and God blessed us," and all that good stuff. Well, this is not what the reporter wanted to hear. So she hightailed it to the next door neighbors who were standing likewise in front of a pile of rubble that used to be their home. and ask them. And there was 90 seconds of this wailing and gnashing of teeth. We've lost everything, all the things that can't be replaced. And again, everyone was safe and sound, but the stuff was lost. And I was just awestruck at the fabulous representation of how the very same external act, the same tornado came and leveled both houses. Both houses were completely totaled. And the very same external circumstances interpreted dramatically differently by these two families. It's the interpretation that I place on these life events and the mind energy I pour into the thoughts that make up that interpretation. That's the mechanism that creates my experience of my life events. And the more I pay attention to that, the more I realize that if I'm in pain, my thoughts are in error, the more I actively choose to look for the good, to ask how to be shown, how to be a blessing in each moment, the better my life gets. And I say this as somebody who's, I often hasten to report, let me make it clear that I didn't learn these tools and all of a sudden nothing but sunshine and roses has happened in my life. Since learning these tools, I've had all kinds of life events that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And yet, my experience of them has been dramatically different than it was or would have been prior to learning these tools. So the choice of interpretation and perhaps the choice of use of the tools is dramatically or essentially important to my experience of life. I was having a session with somebody earlier today, and the session came around a full cycle because the person was talking about how they don't understand so many people that they know who know about good tools, but they don't use them. And, 10 or 15 years after having met these people, they're still complaining about the same things. They're still stuck in the same unproductive patterns. And then by the end of the session, we were talking about, here's a problem in that person's life, the person I'm having the session with, and they have pretty much a lifelong pattern that's negative. And I said, okay, so here are the tools. Here's the EFT tapping and breathing. Here's the Michael Rice Reality Management Worksheet. Here's the 3 early memories of conflict and the ways you can use the Reality Management Worksheet once you've done the 3 early memories of conflict. And if you do, that lifelong pattern that you have can be shifted dramatically, can be dismantled. So that's our work. These are the tools that we have. As I say in most intros, these are, without exception, the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools that I've encountered in my 47 years of doing therapy. This is it. This is the beginning of the 48th year, now that we're in the month of June. And I started doing therapy under the supervision of a licensed clinical psychologist 47 years ago. I got a bachelor's and worked in corrections for 7 years, and went back to school for a doctorate in clinical psychology. Ever since I got the doctorate, I've had postdoctoral trainings required for my license. And of all those trainings and all of that, quote, education, unquote, the tools that are offered at whyagain.org are the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered, and they're available absolutely free. That's part of why I say they're so accessible. They're available at the whyagain.org website, which the last time I checked had been thoroughly revamped and updated. So if you go to that website and you explore and you find a link that doesn't work, please send an email to Jeannie Rice, JEANIE @whyagain.org. And one of the primary changes is to find the red and white bullseye, you got to scroll down quite a bit. But you can click on the word Start Here in the upper left-hand corner of that home page, and it takes you to the page where you can download Chapter 24 of Dr. Rice's book and all the other things we mentioned in our intro. So, you're encouraged to go and explore the new version of the website, and let Jeannie Rice know if you find some links that don't work, so she can take the time to repair those links as time allows. It's the same great information, the vast majority of it absolutely free, and as we know, Michael and Jeannie have been talking about other projects they've been working on for the past year and a half, 2 years, since they've not been traveling for their workshops. And the donate button is there if you're so inclined to support them financially, if you have the resources. And or there's a note that says, let Michael know if you have a particular set of skills you want to donate your time, intelligence, and energy if you don't have the money. And the goal being to get these tools into the hands of every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And every little bit of assistance you provide in that endeavor is greatly appreciated. So, our call-in number is 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. What's on your mind? Today we should be having the release of an interview with Dr. Andrew Pleener, who is an integrative psychiatrist with the Same Here global.org website. And that's a wonderful website also for you to check out. It's Same Here is in reference to the idea that statistics say 1 in 5 people will have a mental health issue in their life or be affected by mental health issues. And this website understands that that's 5 in 5, that's not 1 in 5, because everybody knows a family member or a friend who has been touched by mental health issues or had their own. And if you go to samehereglobal.org and scroll down, I believe there are over 50 athletes and celebrities who have agreed to put their story up there, and they're pictured with the Same Here sign language for, as in me, as in you. So the thumb pointing towards their chest and the little finger pointing out, and that's raising awareness about mental health issues. And there was a story just over this weekend about a tennis pro who decided to say, I can't tolerate the barrage of, I don't know exactly what to call it, but it's part of a professional tennis player's contract, especially the women, that they have to make themselves available for interviews by the news media after every match. And this young woman said, look, I can't do this anymore. I think she's had 4 rounds of depression, just since becoming a pro, and she's got social anxiety, and she came out and very courageously said, this is the problem. I can't do this and stay sane. And, of course, because there's a contract that says she's supposed to do it, they're going to fine her, $15,000 or whatever. And some people are going to come out and call her weak and stupid, and Journey's Dream and Same Here Global are nonprofit organizations that are actively trying to change that stigma and that the choice for silence that most people make when they have a mental health challenge or they're struggling somehow emotionally in life. And resources are available on both websites, journeysdream.org and samehereglobal.org. And powerful tools are available at whyagain.org for managing these emotional, psychological, mental, emotional difficulties. And you can help us globally by just spreading the news of websites like journeysdream.org and samehereglobal.org, all one word. So you may not have any money that you want to donate, but you can certainly spread the word. You can go there and scan through the websites and see what resources are available and pass the information along to anybody you think might be interested and help the cause that way. I have I'm pretty sure I talked a little bit about this. But I had one of the founders of Journey's Dream interview me for the Journey's Dream podcast, the On Your Mind podcast with Journey's Dream. And in it we were talking about, how did I get into this work and what drives my passion. That's one of the questions that I ask most everybody I interview on that podcast. And the thing that came to me as I was responding to these questions is that I kind of stumbled into my profession as a psychologist, and yet, as I look back, there were plenty of prompts for exploring mental health issues from my family of origin, including my father, who struggled with some depression that I never knew about, but then had a bipolar episode when I was 21, and his mother, who I knew had serious depression. And so it is, everybody has had mental health issues and or been affected by them in their friends and family, and the more we can do to make it commonplace and comfortable to talk about these issues and the flexible, functional, integrative resources available for dealing with it, the better off we'll be. So area code 347. I'm trying to turn on your microphone. Who do we have?
Aaliyah.
Can you give me a name?
My name is Aaliyah.
Aaliyah?
Yes.
How can we support you today, Aaliyah?
Do you do readings?
Pardon me?
Readings?
No, we do not do readings. No, we don't do readings. We teach the ancient Aramaic form of forgiveness, and we have all kinds of self-help tools available for free at whyagain.org, but we don't do psychic readings.
Okay, thank you.
So, if you want something other than a psychic reading, our call-in number is 563-999-3581, And if you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. What's the most useful way we could spend this next 22 minutes supporting you? I was struck as I was finishing the Reconciliation book by Thich Nhat Hanh, how close it is to his view of this processing work. It is to so many people that I've been trained with, and including a body journaling technique, holographic memory reprocessing, the pattern of work that we do with faster EFT with Robert Smith, the work we do in the neuroemotional technique, the work I was trained in the bioenergetic synchronization technique, the work that's in internal family systems that talks about parts of the individual. These are all so similar as to be striking that there is this deep understanding of what we do and how we process things as human beings and how we come to believe certain patterns of thought about ourselves. And they are accessible if we're willing to turn our focus inside and use tools. And as I mentioned yesterday, if you have a comfort with the Buddhist approach, then Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Reconciliation, might be a very useful place for you to turn. If not, then you can go to Robert Smith's Faster EFT, or you can go to the book Holographic Memory Reprocessing. And you'll find a very similar understanding of how it is so useful for us to have conversations with and or write letters to and or do visualizations with the younger parts of ourselves that have experienced traumatic episodes. And as we do that, we can experience dramatic shifts in our processing and move from being driven by those younger traumatized parts of ourselves to being in cooperation with all parts of ourselves in dealing with life in resilient and creative and loving ways. I know that we've had several conversations about the benefit of writing a letter to a deceased ancestor or letting them write to me. Sometimes people put their pen or pencil in their non-dominant hand and let the journaling begin as though my deceased grandfather was writing to me. We've also had a lot of people have success by taking a reality management worksheet and filling it in as though I were my grandfather in one of his traumas, or my mother or father when they were dealing with me in a situation where I felt like they were not coming from a space of love. And tremendous insights and energetic shifts can happen when I'm willing to recognize the parts of myself that are functioning from core beliefs and this bleeds right into Diederik Wolsack's work where he says, all of my relating to life is coming from my core beliefs. And if I'm not willing to look at those core beliefs and challenge them from an older, wiser perspective, then I continue to be driven by them. But as soon as I challenge them, as soon as I dismantle them and see them as false, they lose their power over me. So, if you want to get a better life going for yourself, if you want to be able to move through life with better ease and better access to all of your life learnings and resources, go to whyagain.org. Click on the link in the upper left-hand corner of the page that says Start Here. Download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? Print off the worksheet or go to your app store and type in the 3 words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness and get access to the completely free and private app. And then give us a call and let us know what's your progress, what's your questions, what's your comments, what's your testimonial. My thanks to Susan for providing us another powerful example of a worksheet just yesterday. And my thanks to Jeannie Rice for her continued efforts to make those available through the website and the archives. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, Dr. Kim. You said something very interesting just a minute ago about childhood and trauma, and I forget exactly what you said, but it occurred to me that perhaps our thought patterns and patterns of upset, habitual negative thinking come from events from the past that we've just formed a worldview around, and we think that because some of them might have even happened before we were speaking, they become kind of solidified or gelled. And using the tools excavates or gets us into that area, help us to make changes. And I also thought it was amazing, this discussion you had with a client who was thinking about other people who were stuck and not using tools, and then you gently pointed out to him that perhaps there was a little of that going on in him too. And we can all say the same, I think, even though we're using the tools. If there is a persistent kind of rubber band snapping back to a way of thinking that doesn't seem to be giving way in spite of doing work, we're not doing enough of the work or the right kind of work. Or I think of Pam Grout, and her daughter died, and Pam Grout manages to find such joy in her life and to have a positive, active relationship with this daughter who is no longer in the flesh. And I think, what is it about her? Is this just a decision that she has made, or has she done massive amounts of work, or did she not need to do the work, or was she born under a lucky star? And I'm not really making sense, I think, with my talking, but a lot of the things you said just make me wonder.
Well, a lot of it is, let's look at it this way. It's the things that I come to believe as I live through these different life events that live on in me and continue to affect my life. The past does not continue to affect me except as I am holding on to and pouring my mind energy into beliefs about the past and what it meant.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good. Yep.
In one sense, the past doesn't exist, but it does in our minds. I remember quoting the David White. He says, the Irish have this saying, the thing about the past is it's not the past, because as soon as I start talking about it, I load it into my mind, and I'm living from and processing the present moment based on those beliefs from the past. So I'm making it very much alive for me in this moment. But that's the only place it's alive, is in my thought process.
Yeah, that's true. That's good.
And the other thing is, I don't know if you've ever read much Krishnamurti, but if you read The Flame of Attention, his book, he is so clear about there is only what is. And yet we create almost all of our pain and suffering by trying to pretend that what is, the truth of what is, isn't or doesn't need to be or is going to change. And yet there is just what is.
The flame of intention or attention?
Attention.
Attention. Okay, thanks.
And, Guy Finley, among many others, have pointed out that the vast majority of my pain and suffering in life comes from trying to pretend that what's true isn't true, and what's not true or what's false is true or could be true one day. Well, Krishnamurti was talking about that decades before Guy Finley was, and in a way that is, it strikes my eye and ear as almost identical to what the Course in Miracles is calling us to in the most recent lessons, including today's. That the truth is just the truth. The truth is, life is magnificent. You're part of life. You're magnificent. Your essence is as it was created to be. And all of the stuff that goes on about judgment and sin and shame and guilt is all part of the error of human thought, and many pieces of it in different religions are part of the need for control and manipulation of people. But the truth is, you're a magnificent creation of life, of the extension of the creative energy and form. That's how you were created, and that's how you remain to be. It's the core of Michael Rice's teaching. It's there in the worksheet. The basic premise of this work is that your true nature is love. You want to know what that is? Hold a newborn infant. Get the experience of that energy. And in truth, that's all that's happening. In truth, every time I focus on something other than that, I'm distorting my perception. And I'm buying into the cultural training, or I'm buying into the false beliefs that I downloaded when I was younger, and I was surrounded by people who didn't know their true nature as love. They weren't acting from their awareness that they're part of the creation. And so some painful and upsetting things have happened. And when those things happen, and then I download a belief that says, this is about me, that routine, right? My poor mother got saddled with 2 such bratty kids, etc. When we download those negative beliefs, until they are dismantled, they are primary forces in the creation of our perception of life, our experience of life.
Right. Well, okay. From a very personal angle, I feel as if I have gotten to the point where I can stay really well a lot longer than I've ever been able to before. But I still have this belief that this is a fragile little plateau I'm on, and I better watch out. And the littlest thing can threaten that. I feel like a very unsturdy person some of the time. I guess it's just because all of those beliefs are lurking around the edges, and I've had a good look at them, but they're still...
I wish we had the instant replay. Right. You can go back in the archives and hear it, but I wish we had instant replay right now because you just defined it perfectly. You still hold the belief that you're on a fragile platform. And because you hold that belief, that's creating your experience of being on a fragile platform.
Yeah.
So that's it. You're going to create this experience of life being fragile and you being in danger of being hurt, and that's going to be your experience until you question and dismantle that false belief. And it's as understandable as getting wet when it rains, because you had these experiences in your life where your mother was not relating from the knowledge that she was whole and complete and that she could achieve whatever she needed to achieve in her life without hurting anyone. She didn't get that from her parents, so she didn't know it, and she didn't hand it on to you. So you downloaded these beliefs that life is dangerous and you're fragile and you can be hurt and that you're not worthy. And as long as those beliefs remain rooted and unchallenged in you, they will drive your experience of life. And every time you choose to engage a tool like the Reality Management Worksheet or Diedrich Wolsack's 6-step reality or forgiveness work, you go in, you identify the false belief and the younger version of yourself that came to those conclusions. You have empathy for that younger self. You understand exactly how that false belief came to be, and you question it from a higher source, whether it's you're calling Holy Spirit in to help you or you're just using your adult experience of life and mature coping mechanisms to reevaluate it. Once it's dismantled, once you see it as false, those negative beliefs about yourself are no longer creating your experience of life. But as long as you hold on to them, they are creating your experience of life.
So is it a once you get it, you've got it, and that's it? Or do you have lapses? I mean, which is normal?
Yes, it's not a once you get it, you've got it. No, but when you see the false nature of a belief that comes from a specific situation where you downloaded that negative belief, you may not have to go to that same negative memory a lot of times, or you might, right? Or it might have woven itself into a whole network of thought and beliefs about yourself that you may have to go back and revisit and question and see the false nature of it many times before it's completely dismantled.
Right.
If Michael were here, he'd say, how often do you have to do it? 77 times 70, an infinite number of times until it's complete.
Tim, before I forget, how do you spell Wolsack?
Wolsack. His website is choose-again.com.
Okay. I tried to look him up and couldn't find it, but I didn't spell it right. Okay.
Diedrich Wolsack, but the way to find it, the most reliable, is choose, choose-again.com.
Okay, good.
And just like Michael and Jeannie's work, a lot of it's available free. You can download the 6-step process, get information about him. You can read the 6-step process right there and then click on a link that says download a printable version of it. And it is as close as you will find to Michael's work without having the cancel the goal policy or part of it, but
did you find this? How did you find him?
Matthias from Germany, who listens to the show, said a friend of his had him listen to some YouTube videos with Diedrich, and he sent me an email and said, "Oh my gosh, you sound just like Diedrich. Are you ripping him off? I haven't heard you mention Diedrich."
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so I reached out to Diedrich, and he agreed to be interviewed, and that interview should air next Tuesday, a week from today.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, good. I had a question about the Pam Grout thing, too. It was something unclear, but I'm trying to find it.
You mean today's
now.
lesson?
Yeah.
That's mystifying to me, because her lesson's pretty simple.
Yeah, she says, thoughts that remotely resemble my intention and everything that doesn't. She says, I'll go back a little bit. For right now, I forget my intentions. I focus instead on every brilliant, juicy, delicious thought I can, thoughts that remotely resemble my intention and everything that doesn't. I just didn't understand what you meant, everything that doesn't.
Well,
Why
because
do that?
when joy is the dominant, put that together with when joy is the dominant emotion, I'm able to pull dreams out of thin air. So she's focusing on joy, brilliant, juicy, delicious thoughts that remotely resemble my intention and everything that doesn't, as long as it's brilliant, juicy, and delicious. If it leads to joy,
okay.
I'm going to focus on that.
Good. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Right? I'm not going to be so focused on my intention, and create, this intensity of focus that is no longer joyful. She's going to go for the joy.
Okay. All right. I see. Thanks. Well, it's almost time to stop, but I wanted to say, you said something yesterday about letting go of the goal of my mother having a good sleep. That has been the most fruitful part of all of our discussions so far about that. Somehow I was still worrying about her, and it was just great to not worry about her, even though, she's no longer in the body anyway. But
but the key of it was in your worksheet, right? And that goal had to be in there for you, because when she didn't have a good night's sleep, you feared for your life.
Wow, I didn't even connect that so much. It's just that I felt very badly for her and realized I'd probably been worried about her sleep for a long time. Anyway, it was just helpful. Thanks. Your intuition is good. Helpful.
Well, I'm glad you think so. I'm very glad that you were calling yesterday to do that worksheet and that it was useful. So I will mute you so you can listen to the second hour, and thank you again for the call, as always. And I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.
Hey, Dr. Tim, thank you. I'll have to look up those links, too.
I don't know if you realize this, but I had to create the show for today. So.
Oh, no. Okay.
So I don't know that it took me several attempts. It wanted to have just an hour-long show, but it looks like we have another hour of the show left for you and Michael. So,
okay, I will go out there. I was out of it yesterday most of the day, so I didn't. It just slipped by me. I will go out there and create for the next couple weeks. I apologize.
All right, no problem. Take care.
Thanks. All righty.